Welcome back into the Sports Source. This segment of our program brought to you by Tennova Healthcare and Tennova.com. Is your blood pressure where it needs to be? Do you even know? Getting it in the right range can save your life. It can add years to your life. If you want to know more about your blood pressure, get in touch with your primary care physician. That's option one. Or call 1-855-TENOVA, 1-855-TENOVA, or visit Tennova.com. Check out their website regarding blood pressure. Very important stuff. Okay, want to welcome in this wave. We got Mike Strange, Jimmy Hyams, Josh Ward, Chuck Cavaleras. You know who they are, but I have to remind myself. Okay, on Friday, Dennis Dodd of CBS Sports, that's the same CBS Sports that ranked Butch Jones number 52 out of 65 Power 5 coaches, different writers. Dennis Dodd came out and wrote that Butch Jones has accomplished more than many people may realize. He then ran through 4 or 5 lists and stats. If you watched our May 14th show when we tried to rank coaches based on numbers and stats, it was our numbers and stats, which makes me think, I mean, it wasn't stuff that anyone would have just come up with. 2 people don't arrive at these stats laid out the same way that we laid them out by chance. It would be very, very, it's like if you gave a monkey long enough with a piano, he'll play Mozart. Yeah, well, it's not gonna happen. So I think it suggests either A, someone sent Dennis Dodd our clip or numbers from our segment, or someone sent them to Butch Jones and Butch Jones sent them to Dennis Dodd. Butch Jones talked to Dennis Dodd, and Dennis Dodd referred to that. But anyway, Dodd did this article about how people may have misread Butch Jones, talked about his reputation. Let's go ahead and take a look at what he said, all right? In the SEC, only Jones, Nick Saban, and Jim McElwain have won at least 9 games the last 2 seasons. In the last 3 years, only Saban has won more games than Jones among SEC coaches. Jones' sin, if that's the right term, is that he can't win big enough, fast enough for the likes of some at Tennessee. Why can't people say that? That's really a great question, Jones said to Dodd this week. I think we live in a world today where it's not, what have you done for me lately? It's what can you do for me next? And moving forward, Dodd finishes up by saying, things could be worse for Jones. He knows that. But when I told him I was writing this column, he was thankful and cooperative. Without saying it, he was saying it. Because someone had to say it. Calm the heck down, Vol Nation. The best just might be yet to come. All right, I don't think he's number 52 among 65 coaches. I think anyone who ever sits down and looks at the numbers would say, okay, that's ridiculous. I don't know how underrated he is, though, by the overall fan base. Is he underrated? Do you agree with Dennis Dodd's ideas here, Mike Strange?
Well, you bring up a good point. He's underrated by CBS Sports.
He is by the other writers.
I don't know that he's underrated. Maybe by the negative fan base, yes. I don't think he deserves to be on the hot seat. I don't think he's, like somebody said in the previous segment, he hadn't done a great job, and Jimmy said he's done a good job. So where that trend, he's definitely underrated by some of the more negative element. I'll say that.
He's making about $4 million a year, which I think is 18th in the country, 7th in the SEC, but number 11 in the country is also making $4 million. Mm-hmm. So he's in that ballpark. Pay-wise, I don't think he's underrated. And I think the majority of the fan base views him the way Jimmy described him. Good, wanting to be great, willing to give him a little more time to see if he's great. But I don't know, Jimmy, if I would call that underrated in terms of overall fan base. Your thoughts?
I think among the Tennessee fan base, he is underrated in regard to the negative stuff that I hear about him, whether it's on our show, Josh's show, Twitter. So I think he catches a lot of flack from fans. And I do think some of that is based on some of the things he says and the timing of when he says it. And so I think sometimes people back away from the record and look at some of the things he said and that, I can't believe that. And so they don't give him sometimes the credit that I think he deserves to build this program. Now, again, there's a next step to take, and it's a big step, and that's win a division title, and then it's an SEC championship. He hadn't gotten there yet. Yeah. And because he hadn't, I think there's some disappointed fans.
Guys, the underrated, you agree with what Dodd wrote?
I do agree, and I think Butch Jones has become underrated. I think a year ago he was probably viewed appropriately even by that CBS list where he dropped 19 spots.
Yeah. With the same record, he dropped 19 spots.
And we've discussed this, but if you take a coach like Brett Bielema at Arkansas, he's going through some tough times there right now. If you reverse their approach at press conferences, I think Butch Jones is viewed much differently and in much better light. And none of that has to do with football or running a football program, really, that's reaction after the fact. So I think that's affected the quote rating. And by the way, underrated does not mean that he's Urban Meyer, Nick Saban, Dabo Swinney. It just means that he should maybe be a little more appreciated for some of the work that he's done.
I hear a lot of people say, well, he's a terrible coach. He's a bad coach. No, he's not. If you look at the numbers, only an idiot would say that. So remember that when you hear somebody say that. Look at them and go, you're an idiot. Because, I mean, in reality, you can't look at the numbers and say he's a bad coach. That said, he's clearly not a great coach. A lot of guys in that good range, but he's top 25 where he's been the last 2 years in terms of his team, I think. Underrated, do you think? You go that far?
I don't know if I go
the
that
whole
far.
fan base?
I would definitely say underappreciated in terms of the overall aspect of the program that he inherited and where it is now. And I know wins and titles are what most fans are going to say is by far the most important. I agree with some of that, but you also have to look at the academics. You have to look at the recruiting. You have to look at off-field problems and donors. There's so much more to a healthier program than just wins and titles, and I know those need to happen. But I think he is definitely underappreciated in what he's done. But is he the 14 and 18 guy, or is he the guy that's second to Saban and wins? Is he kind of like the transitional man, or is he the coach that's going to take you to the promised land? We don't know.
You mean like Bruce Jenner? All right. When we come back later when we come back, SEC AD, one SEC AD put his coach on the hot seat. Another one took his coach off the hot seat. Should John Curry do either regarding Butch Jones? Should he refer to the job status? We'll talk about that. But next, who was right, who was wrong at the SEC meetings? We got quotes to parse. Come back for the parsing.